As real estate professionals, we are told that if we go out and buy leads, somehow we'll figure out how to convert those leads into sales and we'll build an awesome real estate business. The truth is that model is dead. With lead conversion at an all-time low, we need to ask ourselves this question. How do we build a profitable business that has clients coming back to us, generating more repeat business and referrals, while in the meantime, increasing our lead conversion rate to be profitable on the front end? Real Insider Pro is here to help you answer that question.
Hey everybody, Isaiah Colton here with another episode of Real Insider Pro. And in today's podcast, I'm going to be specifically talking to you about niche domination and why it's important for you to be successful in real estate. See, what ends up happening in real estate is we get all these different ideas and all these different niches that we can go after. And one of the common mistakes that we see in our industry is agents try to do it all at once and they get pulled in multiple different directions. They find out they get a lot of great ideas. And what happens is through the shiny object syndrome, they end up going broke. And I want to share my personal story because I was guilty of this early on in my own career is what happened for me in 2014 when I first went into business for myself and I took over operations for a real estate brokerage. I had all these ideas popping in my head and I didn't have a specific game plan to go out and execute on these. And then even though I did have a game plan, I found out about something new and I really didn't analyze, how it was going to hurt me more than help me sometimes by going into that niche too soon. And so if you look at the DNA of most real estate agents, I should say successful real estate agents, they get good at dominating a couple niches or a niche at a time, and then they move on and they continue to develop more of a stacked approach where instead of trying to dominate all the niches at once. And so once I kind of discovered that from a mentor of mine who was having a ton of success in real estate, I started narrowing my focus. And that's really the message of this podcast is that if you're finding yourself struggling in real estate right now, and you find yourself spread too thin, usually comes down to a couple things: your people, process, and tools. And within that, you might be just trying to do too much. And so, or maybe you're at the opposite end of the spectrum, is you're trying to get momentum, but you're dabbling with different niches. You're trying to figure out what your first niche is going to be. So I just want to start off on a high level talking about niche domination and how I believe it's the number one growth hack, so to speak, a way to gain momentum in your business than almost any other strategy. See, what ends up happening in business, if you want to go into business and you have a shotgun mentality, what I call a shotgun mentality, what ends up happening is you spread your focus all over the place. Like when a shotgun goes off, it still has an impact, right? But the shrapnel from the bullet goes everywhere. And it doesn't, versus a rifle mentality, where a rifle, when you fire that rifle, it goes off and it has a tremendous impact and it'll blow a hole through everything, almost anything that it touches. And so it has a much bigger impact. And so I firmly believe in today's world that you have to dominate a niche. You have to focus on a niche. It doesn't mean you have to stay in that niche forever, but you got to dominate a niche or two before you try to go and do everything. And it doesn't mean that you can't do everything. It just means you can't do everything all at once. And so we've heard the saying before, the riches are in the niches. That's why people say that, is because with the expectations of consumers, with the highly competitive marketplace, the marketing message has to be on point. And when you're working Z-buyer leads versus working for sale by owners versus working probate versus working a geographical farm versus working expireds, they all have little bit of a different messaging. And when you can speak to that audience, when you can pierce through the pain and motivation that they have in that niche, that's when you start seeing tremendous results and you start having a true impact. You get an ROI. And you can scale your business a lot quicker than trying to do it all at once. Plus, actually, you have a better quality of life. And I know everyone's thinking right now, like, Isaiah, but like, there's all these other awesome opportunities out there. And I can relate to that because I used to say the same thing. I was coaching a client the other day, and we were having a great conversation. He kind of started tapping into FSBOs and expireds, getting into geographical farming. And he goes to me, Isaiah, I want to get into the probate. Like probate, I want to go into it. That's my, I want to go after that niche. And I said, okay, well, let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much market penetration do you have with for sale by owners and expireds and your geographical farm right now? And he goes, well, what do you mean market penetration? He goes, well, if you look at all the for sale by owners and expireds that are happening within a 30-mile radius of you, how many of them are you converting? And we can guess what the answer was. Not enough, right? So ask the same question with a geographical farm. And so I said to him, look, you can go into another niche and we can do probate. We can work on that. But here's what you're going to find. If you start doing all these niches simultaneously and you haven't gained and really fine-tuned your system with that first niche, and now you're hopping to another niche, you're going to spread yourself too thin and you're going to have that shotgun effect. Yeah, you'll have an impact and you'll get a transaction here and there. Or if you just focus on getting market penetration within that niche, and that's how you truly dominate, right? It's how you truly go after it. So with some pause and hesitation and frustration, we agreed to put the probate on the back burner and really focus on for sale by owners and then the geographical farm, because that was like the low-hanging fruit. We already had that going. And I would say within 3 months or so, he went from getting 2 to 3 listings a month from for sale by owners expires to getting 5 to 7 a month. And now his geographical farming's kicking in. He's starting to get some calls. And the reality is that maybe he could have done the same thing by adding probate into that mix, but how much time and energy would it have taken to get up and running? How much more management would have taken? And what ended up happening is you have a time and opportunity cost, right? And so what happens when you go to try to get into a niche and launch something new, it distracts you from the other thing that you're doing. And that has a tremendous cost to it. So just remember, when you're making decisions for your business, you can't just factor in what the gain can be by doing this new thing, but you have to factor in what the loss is going to be by doing it over with whatever else you're doing, right? And if you look at there and balance it out, it'll help you make better decisions. And that's really why I call niche domination a growth hack. And this week we're doing a series on geographical farming and how to really hone in to geographical farming and use a combination of online marketing and offline marketing to not just get some transactions short term, but to create a power brand, what I call power brand, within a community, and have hyper focus where you can just create such a dominant presence. You can do what one of my clients has done. His name is Ed, and create a never-ending stream of more business within that geographical farm. He told me that his geographical farm over the years that he's been doing it generated over 1,500 transactions. And he got so good at geographical farming that his agents on his team saw and duplicated it and end up actually creating their own farms. And one of them actually became a competitor. He got so good at training, he actually became a competitor. And that's what I want for you. I want you to see that same success, to where you don't just, you kind of have you don't have this kind of, if you're watching this by video, you don't have this approach where you got this iron in the fire and this iron in the fire, this iron in the fire, and you got dollars going out, dollars going out, dollars going out. Instead, you narrow your focus, right? Narrow your focus, have less dollars going out, and have more of an impact over time, and therefore making more money by focusing on one niche at a time, right? That's what you want to do, is focus on one niche at a time and get it rock and roll, and then focus on another niche. All right. And you'll find, folks, that at first it's very frustrating, especially if you're a creative person, or another term for creative person is you have some ADD or ADHD like me. You can find this being very frustrating experience. You got to sometimes reprogram your brain. But for myself, what I try to do is I try to take my creativity within the same idea right? So it doesn't mean you can't be creative and innovate and improve, but it needs to be within the same idea and not totally a different idea. That's where the problem is. Channel that energy towards improving and innovating that idea. And with geographical farming, there's a lot of ways to attack it. And so largely what we talk about to be successful with geographical farming is the 1% rule, meaning you come up with a plan, you come up with a budget, you launch your marketing plan, and then what you do is focus on getting 1% better every day. And that's really our focus with geographical farming. You want to pick the right farm, look at high turnover areas, but also consider market penetration with other agents in the area, consider your price point, get your data together, right? And then think about the channels of marketing that you're going to use to go out there and convert on that geo farm, right? Are you going to do door knocking? Are you going to do prospecting? Are you going to use email marketing campaigns? Are you going to do Facebook retargeting? Are you going to do postcards? Our recommendation here, folks, is you do it all. You might be able to do it all at once, but if you really want to dominate that geographical farm, then you have a multi-channel marketing approach up and running. And so that's my message for you today, is get really good with your marketing plan within a niche, execute, dominate, and then move on. Isaiah Colton here with another episode of Real Insider Pro. Hope you enjoyed today's message about niche domination. And I promise you, if you can discipline yourself to do it, you're going to see tremendous results a lot quicker than if you just spread yourself too thin. I wish you guys well. See you on the next podcast.